said that the Spirit-filled life, as we're commanded to be filled with the Spirit in Ephesians 5:18, talks about the fullness of Christ all throughout the book. He says can be characterized in three ways. You want to know whether you're filled with the Spirit or not. He said, I'm gonna tell you three characteristics of a Spirit-filled life. Number one, he said, you're going to have a song in your heart. You're going to have joy in your heart. You're going to want to come to a worship service like this and sing. And then secondly, you're going to have a thankful heart, verse 20. And then thirdly, you're going to have a submissive heart. You're going to see God in authority over the entire universe, and you're going to be able to trust Him. And one of the ways you trust Him is that He puts authorities over your life. It may be, it may be family, it may be a boss at work, different authorities over your life, including the government. And He's saying you're going to have a test in your life, and if you can look around these and look to me, because you need to obey them as unto the Lord. What does that mean? Well, you need to obey them because you trust, he says, you trust me. You don't necessarily trust your boss. Maybe you don't even trust your husband and your wife completely as far as being submissive, and all that, and your family is maybe not where it needs to be, but you trust me with it and obey your parents, for example. And so he looks at the family, he looks at husbands and wives, and then he looks at children and their parents. And finally, he has to address the slavery issue because it is an issue in the Roman Empire. And so he brings back a principle here as he's saying the attitude toward these people ought to be different. He says, obey them as unto the Lord, sincerity of heart, verse 6, not by way of eye service, just don't do it when the boss is around, but as not as men pleasers, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. With good will render service as to the Lord and not to men. As unto the Lord, over and over and over again, knowing that whatever good thing each one does, this he will receive back from the Lord, whether slave or free. And masters, do the same things to them and give up threatening, knowing that both their master and yours is in heaven, and there's no partiality with him. God loves the master. He loves the slave. There's an attitude here present. And if there's one thing I would like to gather from this before we move on to the spiritual application here in ministry, it's this, that every job's important. That's what he's saying. Every job here in the Roman Empire is vitally important. Every job today in our society is important.